there's a piece of relationship building that's like it's part of this. The world has changed. The internet changed the way you network with people. But I've realized that networking on the internet is only one half of the relationship building. And so, like, you really can't develop a real relationship online. Not really. And it's really hard to it's inefficient to hope you meet the people in person. And so it really requires both. And conferences, this is why I love conferences, because what they let you do is you gather all your internet friends and you go see them in Denver once a year or whatever it might be, or Orlando. And so networking with people online is really, really valuable. But then finding that time of the year where you're going to go see them in person, really, like, it's like having a fake internet friend that you could talk to for years. And it's like not meaningless, but it's like Schrodinger's friend. It exists, but it also doesn't exist. It's not a real relationship. As soon as you meet that person in person, 4 years of back and forth on the internet just became real in a heartbeat. And now you're like, oh yeah, we've been friends for 4 years. We just met today. But so I say all that to say, like, for those looking to network, like, it takes both pieces. Yeah, you should go on the internet. You should make friends with people online. Dude, I made friends with Jay Scott, actually, and Dorkin. Like, I don't know Dorkin. I talked to him on the internet, and then, I've only met him in person once, but Jay Scott's the same way. I talked to Jay Scott for like 5 years, never met him. And then I ran into a conference one time. He's like, dude, we're friends. And now we're friends. And so you can reach out. The internet gives you access to almost everybody. And so you can reach out. Mindy and I talked for that message you sent me was in like 2013 or 14. I was just learning real estate. My friends and family were telling me I was crazy. They're like, yo, don't you know that thing bankrupts people? You better watch out. It's the opposite of how it is today. They're like, now they're doing the thing. Oh my God, real estate only goes up. So it's fascinating to see how short people's memories are. That's really but it doesn't matter. Point is, we talked for probably, if that was 13 or 14, and then we didn't meet till FinCon of 2019.
We met before then. We met in Las Vegas.
That was in 2008. Okay, so 2018.
But yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of time talking.
Yeah. So it's 5 years that you're like, oh yeah, this internet friend I have, which I don't know if it's real or not. Maybe it's a real friendship, maybe not. Who knows? And then you meet in person, you're like, we've always been friends. I can't believe it. It doesn't, it feels like it's always been real. It's a fascinating little dynamic.
Well, and networking online gives you the opportunity to communicate when it works for you. I'm in a different time zone than you. I've actually had in real life friends that, like, friendships that kind of fell apart because they moved to, I'm in the mountain time zone. They moved to the Eastern time zone. I have kids. I got to get them in bed early. I don't have time to talk, at late at night. Then I'm tired too. So 2 hours later, when it's 9 o'clock my time, it's 11 o'clock their time. But when I'm online, I can send an email whenever. I can chat on Facebook whenever, and they can respond when it's convenient to them. And yes, I can do that in real life friendships too. That was probably a terrible example. But like when you're cultivating a relationship, it's, and it's new, you're still trying to learn about them, and you're, putting your best foot forward. And here's my super funny side. And, I'm meeting people at the end of June that I've been cultivating relationships with online for a while. There's this big run in my city. I'm running. I hate it. But several people around the area are coming to do the run, and then they're going to have a barbecue in my backyard afterwards. And that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah.
You guys are both idiots.
Thank you.
You guys are
That's
both
super nice.
avid runners who
back.
hate running.
I'm not an avid runner. Shut your mouth.
Why are you going to join a running group?
I'm not joining a running group. I am doing one run. It's a 5K. It barely counts as a run.
Oh, yeah.
But
okay, good.
Everybody else is doing the run, so I have to run too.
So sorry. Only David's an idiot.
Yes, David's an idiot if he hates running and is going to do, you're going to do an Ironman. Dude, that super sucks. That's swimming that sucks and running that sucks.
I hate running. It is my worst discipline, and therefore it is the most painful of the three. And so, yeah, it's not that I hate running. I don't like 5Ks. I don't like fast paced sprint. I prefer go on a 12-mile run slowly And
you can run a
chug
5K
along.
slowly. I know that from firsthand experience.
Yeah, but then you don't. But that's not long enough to like get into like flow state.
Dude, I don't want to get into flow state.
I like the mental clarity I get on like long walks or long runs or cycling. But the other thing with networking, and we're talking like on the online thing, like, I've made a ton of friends through, Instagram, Bigger Pockets forums, all these things, because like what Alex said, if you're producing content or answering questions or giving whatever, and people find that helpful, they reach out to you. And so I've made a ton of connections over the years where I put a piece of content out or answered a question and people came to me. And a lot of times that happens at the conferences because they're like, you're that guy, or you answered this, or you did this. And I have no idea, which is always kind of awkward because I'm like, do I actually know you? But I mean, I've made tons of connections that way and it's been super valuable.
Dude, the lurker aspect of social media is grossly underestimated. And so in 2019, was it Bigger Pockets 2019? That was like the redo, the first one. It's like midnight. You guys are closing on that bar. I was hammered. A drunk Scott Trench walks up to me. I knew Scott, but I didn't like know Scott. He walks up to me. He looks me straight in the eyes. He's like, gives you that like 10-second like stare. He's going to tell you something, but he's formulating thought. He's like, who is Asian work wife? Which was which was this meme joke I had about some coworker who happens to be Asian. Fantastic human being, one of my favorite people. I used to tell stories about her on Facebook, and I'm like, dude, Scott and I, we had never talked really before, or very, very little. And I was like, I didn't think he knew who I was. Never mind. Paid attention and then like had this idea and then never said anything. And then you see somebody in person and that's when it comes out. And that's the weirdest thing about the internet is when somebody like, I don't want to say anything to you on the internet, but I'll say something to you in person. That's a fascinating dynamic because the social risk is far higher in person. You got to look somebody in the eye and like either, it's like asking a girl out. It's like easier over text. So, it's harder to do it face to face. Right. But the amount of people that I don't know come up to me in a conference and they're like, dude, I love your whatever. And I'm like, hey, I'm very thankful. I'm grateful that you find me useful. Also, it's, as the years goes by, they're like, yeah, I've been following you for 4 years. And I'm like, please just say something earlier. It's too far now.
So I talk about Alex Felice a lot. I talk about you at the office. I talk about you at home. Shut up. I said something the other day and my kid, I happen to know like 27 people named Alex. I can't even say 27 guys. I know a lot of women named Alex as well. And I said Alex and my kids are like, Felice? I'm like, in this case, yeah, it was Alex Felice. But yes, Alex Felice comes up a lot. I cannot stress it enough. I appreciate that you are not selling. There's a lot of people that I know about the same time that I met you, that I don't follow on Facebook, that I actively don't communicate with on Bigger Pockets because all they're doing is selling all the time. They are incapable of having a conversation without promoting whatever their latest thing is. And that gets old so quick. I don't want to hear about all the things that you're doing unless I ask about it. I'm excited for your successes. That's great. But don't sell me all the time. Let's just have a conversation. If you're trying to sell me, I just instantly think you're smarmy and gross. And you have so much to overcome when I think you're smarmy and gross.
This works really well for my personality because I don't have anything to sell. So I could just be me. And so people who dig that gravitate towards my personality because it allows me to be very free. Because I'm like, oh yeah, you didn't like what I said? You can't hurt my bank account. I don't care.
Well, you have something to sell.
That being said, I don't have much to sell. And so that does hurt my bank account.
But you have an investment. You have investment opportunities. And what I like about that is you will say, hey, I might have an investment opportunity coming up. If you're interested, I can send you more information. That's your sales pitch. And then if I say, you know what, I'm tapped out this month, you'll say, okay, cool. I'll let you know if I have any more. Or, if I keep saying that, you get the hint and you're like, hey, Mindy doesn't want to invest with me. But I will ask you, because you're not salesy, because I have spent this time cultivating our relationship, I will ask you, do you have anything coming up? And you'll be like, yeah, I've got this thing. And I'll be like, hey, give me some information. Or, hey, at the end of the year, I'm selling a syndication, so I will have money. Let's talk. You've got something coming up. I'm excited for it. Not only am I excited for you, but here's where the networking comes in. I was at dinner with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and she talked about the same type of thing that you're about to invest in. And I was like, oh,
dude, I have the hottest opportunity in real estate right now. It is coming hard. I'm excited. It's going to be a few weeks this summer.
I've got people who are interested in it. And when I said to this person, Scott Trench happened to be at the dinner that night too. And I'm like, oh yeah, Alex Felice has this thing coming up. And Scott heard your name and he's like, oh yeah, that guy's really awesome. And Scott, being the CEO of the company, is now validating to this person who sort of knows me, but not really, validating to her that you're a great person. I am going to, once you ever send me that document, Mr. I never sell anything. Sometimes you got to be a little salesy. When you send me that document, I'm going to forward it on to her. And I'm going to say, hey, remember at dinner, we were talking about this. This is the proposal. I just wanted to share it with you. If you're interested, I can introduce you to him because it's for, well, I think she's an accredited investor. So do you have to be accredited or know you?
Well, you're going to have opportunities for both.
Okay. So I think she's accredited, so that's fine. But I would love to introduce her to you. I can still invest in this opportunity while giving her the information, and then she can choose to invest in it or not. But what this does is this introduces you to her. She's a big name. I'm specifically not dropping her name on purpose because, she doesn't need to be, I don't need to drop her name right now, but this would be really great for you if you could connect with her. Scott has already said Alex Felice is really awesome. So she's probably got that in the back of her head because she's probably one of those people that remembers shit.
That's why on Facebook, what I do is I just tell people I'm awesome. And then when I say it over and over and over again. And that way, when they hear the word, oh, Alex Felice, like, what do I think? Oh yeah, he's awesome. That's right. It's just, it's good.
Okay, well, let's get away from Alex. David, what do you want to talk about?
No, hang on. I want to add one more part to that. It's so funny. I don't talk about myself that much. It's good to hear other people do it
all day, every day. But continue.
We definitely live in a very interesting world where, I don't know how to use social media yet. Nobody knows how to use social media yet, or very little. And it was like, this little thing you can talk to your friends online. It was basically like chat plus a profile. It was whatever. And then it has quickly devolved into, for many people, it is nothing more than a marketing device. Sometimes a more or less, disguised marketing device, a marketing device disguised as authenticity. And I'm not good at marketing. I'm really not. It doesn't fit my personality type or my soul at all. And so I don't know which model is going to prove to be correct in the long run. I mean, there's guys, there's guys like in real estate and many other industries that are using social media as marketing tools of various kinds, and they're doing very well. So I don't know if my particular blend is going to win in the long run, but I will say that it's much easier to do what fits your personality type rather than if marketing doesn't feel, I feel the same way as Mindy. It's like, dude, as soon as I find out you're soliciting to me, I'm grossed out. And so some people are just not into it. And some people are like, they don't care. They don't mind it. Some people like buying stuff some people like getting sold, and some people like selling. And so if it fits your personality type, I say, do whatever feels natural and organic to you. You also have to understand that not everybody's into that. And I will say to the people who don't like the feel of the sales pitch both ways, which I'm sure are many, you can make a lot of success in this area and in life and using social media and networking and marketing, for lack of a better term, without sales pitching almost at all. So do not fall into the trap of like, oh, this is a social media. Social media is a marketing tool, and here's how you have to use it. It's like, dude, they don't know. Whoever's telling you that's how you have to use it, they don't know. Like, nobody knows how to use it yet. They're figuring it out. Some people have learned how to use it to their personality type better than others. And a lot of people that are really good at it are just shameless. And so like they don't have the ick because they never feel the ick because they're just shameless, which is not a personality or a lifestyle that I would ever recommend to anyone. So if you have a lot of shame, which you should, because you want to be a good person of moral character, and you want to have the feeling of when I right or wrong my fellow human beings, you can still make a lot of progress with social media, but it's definitely you got to find out what fits your personality type.
Yeah, I agree with that. Shameless is the smarmy people that I don't want to hang out with. Yeah, and I'm not interested in hanging out with those people. Like, I'm too old for that shit.
I don't know what you're overcomplicating social media. All you got to do is take pictures of cats or your food, and you win the internet. Everybody knows that.
What if you don't have a cat?
Yeah,
I guess
cats are the
food.
worst. That was 10 years ago. Now, you gotta take pictures in front of a McLaren, David.
Yeah, that didn't work.
You should get an NSX.
Funny. I've been looking for a toy, but I haven't figured out what I want. Because what I want is out of my price range, and the things that are in my price range, it's weighing the old. It's like, do I buy this now and postpone what I really want longer, or do I just hold out? And the real thing is those cars that I would want, prices are so inflated right now, they're not even really worth buying at this price point.
So here's my experience with a super, super nice car. I drove an NSX for a year, maybe, and it was gorgeous. The people who had it before me took really, really great care of it. But the thing is, I grew up I drove a 1970 AMC Hornet. Go ahead and be jealous. Look that up. AMC, the maker of the Pacer and the Gremlin. The Hornet didn't look much better. The Chevette. I told people I drove a Vette, but it was a Chevette. I had an MR2 for a while, first generation. I drive a Mindy van now, little Mazda 5 minivan. And it doesn't matter if somebody dings my door when I am at the grocery store. And it doesn't matter if my husband hits the dolly with the car and it whaps into the front corner panel. But when I was driving the NSX, it was like this far off the ground, and this truck, this big jacked up truck, starts coming over into my lane, and I'm honking my horn like, stop, because there's another car over here. I'm going to get hit. If he finally sees me, and he's like, oh, like he couldn't see me because it was a black car and it was really, really tiny. And after that day, I was like, oh, this car is too nice. There is too much money concentrated in these four wheels, and I feel really nervous when I drive this car. And nice cars just aren't my thing. And I had a nice car, and like now I have a Miata. That's my fun car. But if my Miata gets crushed, I can go out and buy 57 more Miatas. Like they're a dime a dozen. My NSX was one of, shut up, Alex. My NSX was one of, I think there were 9,000 total in the US market, and only 6,000 remain because sometimes people who drive them are complete douchebags and drive them too fast.
Nice cars make you fragile. They make you fragile as fuck because you're driving around like, I can't get it dinged. I have too much money. I have too much emotional investment. I got to park at weird places. It's always got to be clean. I got to it's this big,
yes.
It just makes you so fragile to hang on to this thing that is ultimately just the materialistic. I mean, it doesn't really matter. And I'm a car guy. I love cars. So what I say about cool cars is get one, which I don't have. I don't follow this advice because I can't do it. Right. But if I want to go get one, it's like, okay, what's the old saying? Like was it Jay-Z said, if you can't afford to buy two, you can't afford to buy one. So if you really want a Ferrari, it's like, yeah, get two so that the dinged up, so you can get one dinged up and not care about it. You're like, yeah, I just don't care. If it has to be perfect, then you're just walking around like waiting to get emotionally stung. It just makes you so fragile. And like, what's the point? That's not, I don't know what anybody's here to invest for, but that ain't freedom. If you're tied up and this thing has to be perfect all the time, you ain't free. You're tied to this materialistic, this nothing.
When I had the S2000, right, I had that was my toy for a while, and I turboed it and did all the work myself, and it was beautiful, and I loved it. But there's a local, they call it the Boston Mountain Store, local drive. It's like they do one in the spring, one in the fall. It's like a full day cruising through back roads in the Ozark Mountains, tons of fun, lots of twisties, and that's what I like. I like driver cars that are whatever. But to your point, it was always funny. I never did it. I didn't care. Whatever, it was my daily. But there were always people who would show up, and like you could see them out in the parking lot with like the blue painter's tape painting off the entire freaking front bumper and mirrors and everything where a rock could potentially come off the road, and chip paint was just taped and plasticked and taped. And these cars, you'd have guys in McLarens and NSXs and Ferraris out there with like just bukus of crap all over the front. They look like when you see a car that's on the track, like as a, it's not released yet and they've got all the weird stuff on it so you can't take pictures. And I'm like, ugh, whatever.
Yeah, I love cars. Loved cars a long time. Can't afford a cool one, and I know a lot of people that have cool cars and they really can't afford them either. And they have their just lifestyle is tied up. That's why I love cameras. I'm like, I can go to the car meet and take pictures of all these cool cars, and then like not have any of the liability, any of the emotional investment, any of the capital. Now look, if you're like really rich, if you like really got it, and you can go off and you can buy your dream car. I mean, I really would like a 993 Porsche. But a 1993 model still costs $100,000. Like I already know that if I spent the $100,000 on a 25-year-old, what is that, a 35-year-old car that can't be replaced easily, it's like I'd be the same way. I'd be fragile about it. And so like, what's the point? It's not freedom. I'd rather go off and buy a newish Ferrari or Lamborghini. And it's like, it's not going to last. It's not going to stand the test of time. So just beat it. And who cares? But I'm not going to do those things.
Freedom. That's it. It's not freedom. I was after that guy almost hit me for like 3 or 4 weeks. Every time I drove it, I was like, please don't hit me. Please don't hit me. Please don't hit me. And I came home and I said to Carl, maybe we should sell it. He's like, I wanted to sell it, but I didn't want to say anything because you liked it so much. And I'm like, okay, let's sell it. No, we sold it at the end of the season. So we sold it for what we bought it for, but we bought a house with the money, so we did better.
I consider that a win, though. Yeah. I mean, if you break even on a car that you got to, like, I've had, several cars, actually, my last 3 that I either sold for what I bought for or more, and 2 of them I put 40,000 miles on and sold for break even or more. And it's like, I got 40,000 free miles out of this. I mean, some maintenance and some gas, but I mean, if you compare that to buying something brand new and watching it depreciate 50% over 5 years, the number, it's nice.
Yeah, I had to put catalytic converters back on because the guy that I bought it from took them off. And I couldn't pass emissions. I almost passed emissions. This is how awesome this car was. It's a 91, and it almost passed emissions with no catalytic converters whatsoever.
I thought you were so cool when I met you. She's like, I drive an NSX.
I am so cool.
I'm like, oh my God, she is cool.
I am cool.
And then she sold it because she's like, I had it. I don't care anymore. I just want to be free. I'm like, okay, now you're definitely cool.
Aw, thank you.